But we're now watching the beginning of this ceremony at the U.S. Navy Memorial. So let's just pause and listen for a moment as we honor the 39th President of the United States. And as we watch the U.S. Navy Memorial, you can see this formation of midshipmen from the U.S. Naval Academy, where Jimmy Carter graduated. He's the only president of the United States to have graduated from the Naval Academy. You're looking at there, that is the Secretary of the Navy, along with the head of the U.S. Naval Academy. And so they are turning out their very best, the Navy is, to honor this submariner and former President of the United States, Jimmy Carter. So much about his career. I'm sure many of these midshipmen and women want to learn about as they honor his legacy and pay tribute to him today and in the coming days.
I once asked President Carter if I could see his Navy record, and he said, "I don't have it." And I thought, well, of course you have it somewhere. And it was in St. Louis National Archives. And I got it, and it's just exemplary reports. I mean, he was a model midshipman. He was a model of a veteran of the U.S. Navy. And at this moment, we have to think of him, which we don't often do, as Lieutenant Carter, because he was intense about the U.S. military and his love for our men and women of the armed forces. It was deep with him, as deep as his love of Christianity and the gospel.
This is the caisson in which the hearse will be moved to escort his remains to the U.S. Capitol for that ceremony today. These ceremonial troops will present arms and render honors, the four ruffles and flourishes, and we will hear "Hail to the Chief" again. And then immediately following these honors, and we'll take them live as they happen and let you listen, the U.S. Navy Band will play "Just As I Am" without one plea. And then it's then on the first note of the hymn that the body bearer team moves the caisson and places the casket on the caisson. And then family members will walk the procession route and move in position to go up Pennsylvania Avenue. There he is being escorted by this special honor guard. And in this funeral procession, the order of this march is the Military Honor Guard, the Advanced Motorcade, the National Color Guard, clergy, the caisson with the body bearer team, Presidential Color, and the motorcade. It's just an incredible thing to watch the tradition here of the way America pays tribute to our former presidents. And as we watch the hearse arriving at the U.S. Navy Memorial with former President Carter's remains, on the other side of the screen, you can see the Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries, inside the rotunda, as a number of the dignitaries there are arriving inside the rotunda in advance of the ceremony to honor the former president and Lieutenant Carter, as Douglas Brinkley has noted. We should be calling him now as we're at the U.S. Navy Memorial to talk about his service to the Navy, how it influenced him, how it shaped him, his discipline, his service to our nation, and how did it influence his presidency, Douglas?
Well, he really believed that the key to being a commander-in-chief was peace. And there were many opportunities, a little like Dwight Eisenhower in this regard. Eisenhower, who signed all of the death certificates of World War II as Supreme Allied Commander in the 50s, said, peace. I'm not going to be writing about dead Americans. So Carter did anything he could, and really his proudest accomplishment of his presidency, that was the United States didn't go to war, that he was able to keep America safe. But when in 1979, when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, it got his cackles up. And he started, he at that point became more of a Brzezinski hawk on the Soviet Union. But the mistake people make, because Reagan in 1980 wanted to raise the defense budget by 7%. Carter 5%. So he was a person who loved America's military establishment.
And here are some of the family members, Douglas, that have joined the procession there to walk alongside.
And, you know, he was an incredible father and kept them together as a unit. Every year, they would go on vacations to whether it's Disney World or Europe or Brazil or Alaska, and they're tight. They are Georgia people at heart. But we've been talking about Jason as the spokesman, but his father, Jack, served in the military, the Navy, and Jack was a Vietnam veteran. And so there's that connection into the family also. But only, you know, and one of his sons ran recently in Nevada for public office, didn't win. Jason Carter ran and didn't win. But the story, there's nothing to understand about Jimmy Carter about the love of wife and family. They are a tight unit.
Carter is survived by 4 children, 11 grandchildren, and 14 great-grandchildren, many of them there today to join their loved one, some of them their grandpa. And remember, President Carter's died at, he made it to 100. That's the marker for everybody. So they've been waiting for this moment. It was an incredible roller coaster year with hospice and reports about President Carter. But we saw his grit and determination. He wanted to outlive his wife so he could be her caretaker. He wanted Rosalind to be taken care of by him. And at a key summit, the children got together and said, we're going to have to do rotations in planes to keep an eye on the home there. Now, all of planes is really going to be the Carter, part of our National Park Service. Another side of President Carter we didn't talk about his love of the men and women of our National Park Service. No president loved them more than Carter did. Wow.
You know, I thought it was interesting when he declared he would go into hospice. And people just automatically assumed that he was going to die in the next day or so. So all the networks, including CBS, ran what would have been the obits that they had, and we all did that. You get an obit ready for famous people. They all ran them, and he was still alive, so he got to hear them. And I always thought that was a little extra for him. And,
but it's just he didn't want to make the trip to the hospital. He just wanted to be cared for at home.
Yeah.
Right?
He had been shuttling for a while between planes and Atlanta always.
Yeah.
And then if you added up all his travels around the world, but the Emory University did a lot during Carter's life, both for the Carter Center and the Carter family's health.
Let's listen in. You know, the family said that this stop at the Navy Memorial is meant to take note of his service as a submariner and as a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy, and should also note that the site of this event, the Navy Memorial, was one of his lasting contributions as president, authorizing the construction of this Memorial Plaza and Visitor Center in 1980.
And another memorial of sorts to President Carter and his service in the United States Navy is the USS Jimmy Carter, a nuclear submarine that I believe was commissioned back about 20 years ago. And it's a testament to Carter's service as an officer on a submarine, serving, as Douglas Brinkley noted, throughout the world. And as much as Pennsylvania Avenue is associated with his presidency, to start here this walk up to the Capitol, this final march of the family, it's a salute to service, and in particular military service, which is so often tied in American history to the presidency. Not so much in the last 50 or 60 years, but Carter is part of an older school of presidents who saw that service in the U.S. military as a foundation for what would become political service later in life.